Let me break this down quickly. The current state of the rap scene is chaotic and noisy, and honestly, Drake seems to be getting overwhelmed by his own issues. You'd think after all these years, he would have learned to stay calm, handle his business smoothly, and act like a leader. But instead of improving his situation, Drake has made things worse, to the point where people are really calling him out, saying he's never looked this much like a loser before. Let's dive into it. Welcome to Celebrity Cookies, where the tea is always hot and the stories come with sprinkles of surprise. Make sure to subscribe, leave a comment with your take on the story. So here's the deal. Drake is already deep in a lawsuit with Universal, trying to get Kendrick Lamar's full contract and figure out what happened during their back and forth. Now, he's also dragging Jay-Z and Roc Nation into the drama. Seriously, how many conflicts is he trying to create at once? You can't be in a legal battle, throwing shade at Pusha T and Kendrick, and then suddenly decide to take shots at HOV too. That's not making power moves. That's just a sign of desperation. Let's take a step back. Everyone remembers that Super Bowl moment when Kendrick Lamar owned the stage, representing TDE, PG Lang, and the culture. That wasn't just a performance, it was a powerful statement. Kendrick solidified his position on one of the biggest platforms in the world, and who was backing him? Roc Nation and Jay-Z, the man who's been strategically maneuvering in the industry for decades. That Super Bowl performance wasn't just entertainment, it was a cultural milestone. Now, instead of letting that go and focusing on his own success, Drake decides to throw shade. He's upset that Roc Nation and Kendrick got to shine on that stage while he was left out. But honestly, nobody owes him that opportunity. It's not like Drake hasn't had his own chances. He could have easily been part of that conversation if his industry relationships were stronger. Instead of reflecting on his own situation, he's pointing fingers, making accusations, and dragging Jay-Z into his legal troubles. You realize this isn't a good look, right? You can't just go after HOV like that. Jay-Z isn't just an artist. He's a business and a major player in the industry. Taking legal action against Roc Nation and publicly making snide comments is not only audacious but also reckless. The streets are already viewing Drake with skepticism after his feud with Kendrick, but it doesn't end there. On top of that, Drake has started dissing Pusha T again, and this has people confused, wondering what he's thinking. We all remember the story of Adidon. That wasn't just a diss track, it was a pivotal moment in his career. Pusha T exposed Drake publicly, revealing personal details and forcing him to acknowledge a child he had kept secret. That was a deep cut for Drake, and it never really healed. Now, years later, instead of moving on, he's coming back at Pusha. The issue is, he's not winning this battle. Pusha has already claimed victory, and everyone saw it. So every time Drake tries to reignite that feud, he just looks like someone who can't let go. Right now, it seems like Drake is fixated on keeping these conflicts alive. He's at odds with Kendrick, he's feuding with Pusha, and now he's throwing shade at Jay-Z and Roc Nation? That doesn't make him look like the king of rap. It makes him look like someone who can't face reality. The truth is, the industry doesn't revolve around him anymore, and the more he fights against that, the worse he appears. Let's talk about the facts. When someone keeps fighting battles they've already lost, it's not a sign of strength, it's a sign of ego. Drake's ego is clearly hurt, and it shows in everything he does. He keeps reaching out, trying to prove something. But the reality is, those who are truly respected don't need to prove anything. They let their work speak for itself. Kendrick lets his verses do the talking, Pusha's lyrics hit hard, and Jay-Z lets his business move speak volumes. Meanwhile, Drake is out here shouting, suing, and name-dropping. It's a messy situation, and people are noticing. If you check online or talk to folks on the street, many are saying Drake looks desperate and like he's losing control. Every time he targets another legend or another camp, it feels less like a calculated move and more like an expression of frustration. People used to see Drake as untouchable, the top dog, but now, he's coming across as vulnerable and honestly out of options. Let's be clear, Drake still holds significant influence, has plenty of hits, and maintains a loyal fan base. He's not out of the game. However, his current approach doesn't reflect the mindset of a champion. It seems more like someone desperately trying to cling to a title that's slipping away. You can't take on everyone and expect to emerge unscathed. Every battle leaves its marks, and right now, Drake is bearing those scars. Now, let's dig deeper. Why is Drake targeting Jay-Z and Roc Nation like this? Some speculate it's out of jealousy. Others think it's about control, while some believe he's trying to assert that he isn't intimidated by anyone, even HOV. But honestly, it feels more like someone who's feeling trapped. When you start lashing out at everyone around you, it often indicates that you're feeling cornered. And Drake certainly seems to be in that position. He's struggling to compete with Kendrick lyrically, can't shake off the impact of Pusha T's attacks, and is frustrated that Jay-Z and Roc Nation continue to thrive without him. So what does he do? He pulls them into his chaos. The reality is, the streets don't respect that behavior. You don't earn credibility by complaining in court or by revisiting old feuds. And targeting a legend like HOV out of bitterness doesn't earn you any respect either. What the streets value is strength, authenticity, and clarity. Drake used to embody those qualities, but they're slipping away from him now. Picture this: Drake in the midst of a street fight, throwing punches at Kendrick on one side, Pusha on the other, while Jay-Z stands back, observing. Drake is swinging wildly, clearly exhausted, and missing more than he connects. Meanwhile, Kendrick remains composed, Pusha is smirking, and Jay-Z doesn't even need to intervene. He knows Drake will tire himself out. That's the essence of the situation. You can sense that this is consuming Drake. It's evident in his speech, his online presence, and even in the subtle jabs he takes. He's not at ease. He lacks confidence. He's feeling the pressure, and when you're under pressure, others can sense it. Fans can feel it. Rivals can feel it. That's when they strike, and that's why he's facing backlash now. Drake could have handled this situation differently. He could have ignored Pusha years ago and let his music do the talking. He could have acknowledged Kendrick's Super Bowl moment and focused on his own achievements. He could have fostered relationships with Roc Nation instead of burning bridges. But instead, he opted for conflict. And conflict is messy, especially when you're not prepared for the consequences that come with it. At this point, it seems like Drake is more concerned with his pride than anything else. When pride takes control, it can bring you down faster than any rival ever could. The streets understand this. When you let pride dictate your actions, your judgment becomes clouded. You end up making decisions that hurt you more than they benefit you. That's the situation Drake finds himself in. Let's be clear, though. I'm not saying Drake is done for. He's too talented, too well-connected, and too intelligent to completely fall off. But this current version of Drake? It seems unstable. Unless he calms down, refocuses, and stops taking shots at every legendary figure, he's only going to continue to falter. Ultimately, it boils down to this. The once untouchable Drake is now appearing uncertain. He's involved in lawsuits, dissing others and pointing fingers, and instead of rising above it all, he's sinking further. Targeting Jay-Z and Roc Nation over the Super Bowl? That's a weak move. Going after Pusha T again? That's a foolish choice. Still bitter about Kendrick's success? That's immature. And the streets don't respect immaturity. If Drake truly wants to improve his image, he needs to silence the distractions and return to making music. Until then, he'll keep looking like he's losing a fight he initiated. And the streets, they're watching, laughing, and taking notes. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this situation, so please share your opinions in the comments. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay updated on the story.